Hey, kia ora, Helen Brahms coming to you live from Escondido in California. I'm still at the Escondido RV Resort and we'll be here for a few more days. Let's see what's today's date. The 3rd, 4th, like another 12 days here. But settling in and getting back into routines. So it's been awesome. Had really good conversations today. Had my most productive day so far since I moved into the RV. Got a lot of work done today. A lot of work. And I even had time to go and find myself a small folding table to put my printer on. It's just a small printer, but I didn't want it cluttering up the table. So got that, and it folds down completely flat, which makes it beautiful for when it comes to driving around and all that sort of stuff. And Kathy, you're watching tonight. Awesome. I have something to show you. Hang on. We're just going to flip this around. Look at these two. There's Casey Kiwi and Three Gus snuggling up in the driver's seat. I don't know what those two are up to. But, hey, Chuck, I don't know what those two are up to, but they're planning something. And hey, Valentino, good to see you from New York. I don't know what those two are up to, but they're plotting something. Who knows? I mean, they're plotting their great adventures of Casey, Kiwi, and Three Gus. I have no idea what they're coming up with. So, but they've taken over the driver's seat. I'm actually sitting in the passenger seat, and I've got it swiveled around, so it's kind of cool. Just sort of give it a different backdrop. You know, this is the front here. Yeah, just sitting in the passenger seat. For some reason, I can't get the driver's seat to turn around. But that's okay, because those two are working out their things there. So tonight I wanted to talk about travel insurance. I get a lot of questions about travel insurance. Yes, no, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? I will tell you this. I always have travel insurance, whether I'm traveling domestically or internationally. If I am purchasing travel, I am purchasing travel insurance. It is just a small cost. I got this really great article here from, what's it from? Groups Today. And it's called The 7 Myths of Travel Insurance. And they go into some really good, which is basically what I go into anyway. But, you know, here's the deal. It's a small price to pay for something that could save you thousands later on. I've used travel insurance on 3 separate occasions for 3 completely different reasons. The first one was we were in Cancun and we were at a cruise planners convention, and our return flights got cancelled because Hurricane Rita was coming through. And they were like, literally all of those that were in the beachfront resort, cabanas and whatnot, were getting moved back further into the resort. They were boarding up windows. It was actually quite interesting to think of, I'm going to be camped out in a hurricane. Awesome. But as it turned out, it was a tropical storm. And at one point, Brad and I were walking from the building where we were, because to get Wi-Fi, we had to go to the main admin building, because they took down all the Wi-Fi antennas on each of the individual buildings that they had around the resort. So the only place you could get Wi-Fi was up in the reception area. And there's this big reception area. They had the ballrooms open, and they were using those for the restaurants and all that sort of stuff. They had it really well coordinated and everything. So the first thing I did, as soon as I found out that our flights, this was on the Wednesday, the day that our conference ended, and our flights were going to be Friday, and we actually had an extra day. We meant to go do site inspections of some of the other resorts around the area and that sort of stuff, but of course that got cancelled. So unfortunately, we had to spend just the day at the resort. The life, I tell you. And so we went up there, and the first thing I did is I called the travel insurance people, explained to them what had happened, and they tried getting us on flights out. And they actually had us book. They were going to book us on these flights, and then I mentioned the thing that we were flying business class. I said, "Are they business class seats?" And they said, "No, they're just economy seats." I said, "Well, my husband is medically required to travel business class." And I said, so economy, I said, that's why we purchased business class seats, because of that. So we could now no longer fly until Monday. So we'd gone from having our regular time at the resort and meant to be flying out Friday to now not being able to fly out till Monday. An extra 3 days at an all-inclusive resort? Oh, dear. So, but the travel insurance told us what we had to do. We started the claim straight away, and they covered our 3 extra nights at the resort. They covered the laundry we had to get done because we had only bought enough clothes for 7 days. They covered the extra days parking that we had incurred because of the car being parked longer at the airport. So they covered all of our extra expenses for those 3 days. That was the first incident. The second incident was when we did the river cruise, the Christmas market river cruise in Europe, I got a 24-hour stomach flu. And we know exactly who gave it to us. That's the thing. We know the person that should not even have boarded the plane back in the US to come to Europe for that. And we ended up being on the same transfer from the airport to the hotel with her, hearing about all of her medical stuff, then later finding out she was going to be on the river cruise with us. And I said, and Brad and I were talking about it, said she should not even be here. And so she actually infected half the ship, including the crew. And people were out in and out, and some people were so sick that we had to pull the riverboat over and just dock it there at the edge. This is one good thing about the riverboat. We could just pull over to the side there, and the ambulance would meet the boat. And there was a couple of people that actually got taken away to the hospital because they were so sick. But they did all the tests and everything else, and we just had a 24-hour stomach flu. I came down with it. They brought the doctor on board the ship. He prescribed medication, and of course it was all written in German because we were in Germany at the time. And so one of the crew members went and picked up the prescription for me, brought it back, and whatever our medical insurance company did not cover, which was nothing, the travel insurance picked up the whole lot. So we got reimbursed on that. The next one was last year I was in New Jersey at a training event, and I got word that my mother-in-law had gone into hospital. And so I immediately got on the phone. We got the flights rearranged and everything else. And I was able to fly back to see her because it was critical. Fly back and see her and everything else. And the travel insurance picked up the change of flights. So 3 completely separate reasons. One being a delay, one was an interruption to travel, one was a medical issue, and the other one was an immediate family member having to fly home for an emergency for that. So 3 completely different things and 3 totally different parts of the world. We had Mexico, we had Europe, and we had here in the States. So is it worth it? Absolutely. I am a huge advocate for it. There isn't a week goes by where some story through the trade magazines for the travel doesn't come through about somebody who's stranded somewhere and having to fork out thousands and thousands of dollars because they got airlifted off a ship. And just to get airlifted off a ship can start at like around 60 grand. That's the starting rate to get airlifted off a ship. I guess it depends how far out to sea you are and all that sort of stuff. But it's 60 grand just to get airlifted off a ship to a hospital. Then you have all the hospital bills and everything else. And if you don't have travel insurance, you're paying for that out of your pocket. And where there's, like I said, weekly, there's stories coming across my desk in the trade magazines about some family who's now in strife because they didn't take out the travel insurance before they left because they thought, oh yeah, we'll be okay, we never get sick or whatever. And then their entire vacation got ruined because one of them got sick, had to get airlifted off. There's been people who have passed away while they've been on the cruise and the travel insurance would help get their body home. There's been not cases where they've been airlifted off, but other things that have happened where their luggage has been lost. So it covers a variety of reasons. Is it worth it? Abso-freaking-lutely. I am such a huge advocate of it because it has affected me 3 different times on 3 separate occasions. And that's the first thing I do is that I book my travel, then I immediately go and book my thing. And cost, and this article I've got is called The 7 Myths of Travel Insurance. And one of them says that it is, the airline will provide all necessary coverage. You're right. Oh, I laugh at that one. I think she should have the other light on here. Hang on, I've got a reading lamp here. Oh, look at that. I can see now. Jeepers, I have white here. Don't sit directly under the light. Let's see. Airlines might get you and your group, because it's based on group insurance. So get you and your group, but it's also applies to individual. Might get you on the next available flight, but they won't guarantee a hotel meal or rebooking costs incurred by the extremely long delay. So with your travel insurance, you get a trip interruption like that where your flight gets cancelled or delayed or whatever, your insurance will cover you. That some of them have daily limits on them, some of them don't. It's an extra expense, it's too much. It is not that much. Most travel insurance is around 6 to 10% of the average cost per person. So if you've got 5 people in your family going, and if you're looking at cruise things, you'll be paying a higher price for passenger 1 and 2, and then the other passengers within the same cabin have a lower rate. So they take the whole cost of that cabin, divide it by the number of people that are in there, and then that's the average cost. And then they take anywhere from 6 to 10% of that. And some of them are based on age, some of them are based on the cost of the trip. So the ones that we use, Allianz, they take the average price, and then they have the scale range based on your age as to what percentage of that average price you end up paying. But none of them that I recall, especially with Allianz, which is the one that Cruise Planners uses, go over 10%. Go over 10%. They may do on the... I have not had anybody pay more than 10%, probably because of the age thing. And then, of course, the older you get, the higher your rate is. So it's a small price to pay. If you think about it, you're spending thousands of dollars to go on a vacation that you only get, most people only get like 2 weeks a year to go on. So this is a huge investment for you. You'll do a huge investment for your car, and yet you insure your car, you insure your house, where you're spending thousands of dollars for that. Why not? Why not? Are there differences between coverage and companies? Absolutely. The package that Cruise Planners has with Allianz is completely different to the package that they will offer to the general public. So if you were to call Allianz and ask them about their packages and stuff, they would tell you about their packages, but the package that we have exclusive to Cruise Planners has a few more little bits and pieces thrown in and a little bit of extra coverage on some stuff. So, yes, definitely do your research. Do your research. Some people go, should I go with the vendor's insurance, like the cruise line? If the cruise line's offering you insurance, should I take that over a third-party insurance? Do a side-by-side check. I always tell people, I go, this is what the cruise line's offering. This is their price. And most cruise lines are like a fixed price based on the cruise, and some of them are a percentage. But I always tell them, here's the cruise line's coverage, here's what Allianz will give you. So I tell them to do the comparison. Some of them turn around and say, oh, my credit card has travel insurance. Okay, find out what the coverage is and then do a comparison. So I always tell my people, do your research, do your research. I'm not an insurance person, so that's why I tell people, I said, here's the information, go do your due diligence. Due diligence. Let's get tongue-tied on that one. So yes, so definitely go and compare and make sure that, if your credit card offers travel insurance with the credit card, what are they actually offering? What are the cruise lines actually offering? Most of the times the cruise line's insurance benefits them more than it benefits you. And the cruise line and the insurance companies that we use, Allianz with Cruise Planners, we actually cover more for around the same cost or less than what the cruise lines do. But again, it depends on the cost of the trip. And also depends on how much you're spending on the trip, because they do have a cap on a couple of their levels of how much you can go. But that's a really super luxury round the world cruise type thing. So there are, so it's just do your comparisons, do your shopping around, find out what works best for you. I have a client, he never books insurance through me. He has a guy who does travel insurance for him and gives him great rates and a great package and everything else. That's fine. As long as you have your trip covered. Please, please, please. You guys are spending thousands of dollars and you only get 2 weeks a year. It's, you're making a huge investment to go on these vacations. Don't let it be spoiled by the fact that you've now got to fork out extras of thousands just because you decided that you'd save some money by not getting travel insurance. It is, and if you don't use it, it doesn't matter. It's like paying insurance on your car. You might go through the entire life of your car and never put a claim in on it. It's the same thing. You'll quite happily fork over for that car insurance or the house insurance or renter's insurance or whatever. You won't insure your trip that you're spending thousands of dollars on and you only have a small window of time to take it. Just do it. So that's my thing. And it's like, do your research. And as travel professionals here, we are required to provide you with quotes, but we're also required to get from you in writing whether you accept or decline the insurance. And a lot of times, and especially with me, is I will not issue my documents to my clients or give them, or even make their final payment until I have that paperwork, because it's such a huge thing when people turn around and they're claiming that they've got to go now got a medical bill and they were never offered insurance, yet if I've got the paper trail there, I'm now covered because they turned around and declined it. But it is, you're right, Kathy, it is a small price to pay for something that could end up costing thousands. So that is my talk on travel insurance tonight. These two are still canoodling over here. I have no idea what they're planning. I'm sure they'll let me in on it when the time comes. But I know that they're starting to plan their, the Adventures of Casey, Kiwi, and Three Gus. So that's going to be coming sometime soon. So that's probably a couple of months away. I don't know. I'm going to have a word with them. I think we're going to have a board meeting and see what comes up. So that's my thing on travel insurance. If you have any more questions about it, I am not an insurance person. I can only give you the information that I am legally able to give you. I can give you, and yes, that's another question that comes up is, I didn't buy my trip through you, but can I purchase insurance? Yes. If the insurance company covers the vendor that you're using. Because some insurance companies, there are some vendors they will not cover. Oh, and here's another good thing about insurance. The other reason you purchase insurance as soon as you put your deposit down for your cruise or your land tour is because, and this is especially if you are going to be traveling between May and November to the Caribbean or the east coast of the US, because that's hurricane season. If a hurricane is not named when you purchase your insurance, you may then be covered for anything that happens during that hurricane, for the cruise cancellations or trip delays, whatever. If the hurricane is already named, you will not be covered for anything relating to that hurricane. The same goes for earthquakes, for volcanic activity. What else is there? Any natural disaster things. If it is not a known event at the time that you purchased, you're more than likely going to be covered. If it is a known event at the time that you purchase insurance, you will not be covered for that known event. I had somebody who contacted me wanting insurance to Iceland. She was going on some tour with some group and refused the insurance they were offering, and like the 2 days before she left for her trip, she comes to me and says, "Can I buy insurance through?" I said, "Absolutely. Where are you going?" She says, "Iceland." I said, "No." She said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Because they're already having the volcanic activity over there. It is a known event, so anything relating to that volcanic activity, you will not be covered." And she was like, "Oh." And I said, "No insurance company will touch you right now with that. They will touch you for anything that is not volcanic activity related, but if the incident is caused, the trip delays are caused by volcanic activity, you will not be covered." So keep in mind, names aren't they same thing? T's are names? So don't quite understand your question there, Chuck. Keep in mind, T's are names, aren't they same thing? Sorry, I don't understand your question. Oh, tropical storms, yes. So if it is a known event or it's a hurricane or a tropical storm that's been named, then, so basically if it's a known event, 9 times out of 10, insurance companies won't cover anything if you purchase it after the event is known. So if a tropical storm is named, if a hurricane's named, those weather depressions as they're coming through, if they get a name put onto them, that's it. They will not cover anything after that naming date. But if you purchase beforehand, before those, so like for example, I've got people who are going on a cruise next year in May next year at the beginning of hurricane season. They're all purchasing their insurance right now, and if any storms come along that get named after they've purchased their travel insurance, then they will be covered. But if they purchase it after the storms, and if they purchase it before they go on the trip, when the storms are named, they will not be covered. So if it's a known event, 9 times out of 10 insurance companies will not touch it if you purchase the insurance after the event is known. But if you purchase it at the time of deposit before any known events, you should be good. Okay, that is my talk on travel insurance tonight. There's a whole bunch more out there. But if you would like a copy of the 7 myths, I've got to remember where I put this. If you'd like a copy of this, which is the 7 myths of travel insurance, private message me and I'll be happy to send that to you. I'll also be happy if you want to know more about the Allianz insurance that that Cruise Planners offers. Let me know and we can send you over the copies of the brochures as well. So that is me for today. Hope you have a super fantastic sparkling day. I'm going to set up a board meeting with these two to figure out what they're up to and what they're thinking about their adventures of Casey, Kiwi and Three Gus is going to look like, and see if we match up on the ideas. It's going to be an interesting conversation with a dog and a Kiwi. But have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and thank you all for tuning in.